push through them very quickly, just in a short amount of time, and then go straight to questions because there's a lot of things to talk about, and oftentimes the most important things come up in questions. And as we wait for people to get on here, um, I will talk about. Well, this is my 19th day of fasting now, so no food. Hello, Ryan. This is my 19th day of fasting, no food for 19 days so far. I feel great, no problems whatsoever. If you think you want to fast, join me. I'm still fasting. Who knows how much longer I'll go? I might just stop at 21. I might go to 40. I don't know. But join me if you want to fast. It's very healthy. But we're going to talk about other things. You are more than welcome to ask questions, and I'm going to answer as many as possible. But first, we'll wait till a few more people get on, and then we're going to get started. Hello, and Leigh in New Mexico, and Melanie. Sound is low. Sound is low. Here, I'll turn it up. How's that? That should be a little better then. That should be cranked up a lot more. How's that? Pull my mic down. Too low or too high? Uh, all right. Let me say hello to a few folks, and then can I lower the mic? Oh, I see. All right. Some people saying sound is too low, and Penny's saying others are saying lower the mic. Let's see. Well, let's see how it is now. Hi, James. Penny. Sounds great. Leah saying, hey, Stephen. And hello in Belgium, Paul. In Brownsville, Texas, Alonzo. All right, we're good to go then. Let's get on with it. Please share this out. We're going to talk about a few really important things, and I'm going to get straight to questions because that's where a lot of people have questions, and I can't answer them all offline because I get 8 meters of questions coming every day, and I got 3 centimeters of extra time, which is actually no extra time. So let's get started and talk about what's going on. The food supply chain is breaking down, and this is now going. Tyson Foods just took out a big advertisement in New York Times, and I think some other places as well, and mentions that the food supply chain is breaking down, which is what I've been warning about since January. Here it is. Now, I've seen this happen in other countries before, and I know how this happens. I've seen it over and over. What happens is it starts and then it avalanches very quickly. So if it follows that pattern, I can only say stock up now. That's what I've been saying since January. And I know some people get upset with it. They're like, hey, this is April, almost May, and we haven't needed it yet. And you've been saying stock up since January. I'm telling you, stock up. January was the time to do it when the prices were lower because the prices are inching up now. And now, according to Tyson Foods, well, let's look at it. You see that? That's Tyson says millions of pounds of meat. Let's see if this is showing up on your screen. If you're seeing this, let's see if you're seeing this. Yeah, it looks like you are. Good. You see, Tyson says millions of pounds of meat will disappear as more than 1,180 workers catch the virus in the slaughterhouse. Okay, they're laying off or furloughing or whatever you want to call it over 100,000 workers, right? So in millions of animals, not just millions of pounds of meat, but I've read millions of animals. I don't know which one's correct. But anyway, it's going, the cows and other animals are just going to be slaughtered in the fields, right? Now think about the chain of effects that can unfold here as farmers go bankrupt. So, a lot of farmers are not going to be able to just hang out and wait until Tyson and the rest open. And think about the implications here. You can't just grow a cow overnight. So as they slaughter huge amounts of inventory, cows and hamburgers and that sort of thing, this leaves, part of the grocery store is empty, right? So people are going to be buying other foods, right? So those prices, obviously, inflation will obviously increase, as I've been saying. And I'm telling you, this is really getting down to the wire. You need to stock up. If this goes the way I've seen it happen in other countries, from here it can avalanche quickly. And remember, all these toilet paper inventory outages, those aren't shortages. That's just out of stock. That's just out of stock, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 weeks to restock. But that's nothing. Now we're talking profound, real shortages as huge amounts of livestock is slaughtered in the fields, milk being poured out, eggs not making it to market, all sorts of things. And so this is actually the actual production at that level. So production is now being affected very adversely. And then from there, also the processing, like Tyson, there'll be more, right? And remember, there'll be more. And then from the processors, then comes the rest of the supply chain, truck drivers and trains and all that to deliver it. And then the grocery stores like Kroger, Publix, whatever, when they start closing their doors, right? If they do. This can be quite serious how this can ripple, right? And so here we are. It's happening now. And I'm going to answer as many questions as possible. But first, I'm going to go over a few more things. Here's their letter, by the way. Actually, on my Patreon, I published the actual whole letter, and you can see here somewhere in the letter. I've read the whole letter. Even Tyson Foods mentions supply chains are breaking down, and so this is quite serious. And from here, sky's the limit. Now, I've been warning since January that your electricity can go out. I know it all sounded crazy when I was saying flights will end up grounded and restaurants closing and schools closing. And that sounded all crazy talk in January when I was buying those 600 masks to hand out in Hong Kong and Thailand, right? Sounded like crazy talk when I was saying buy food back then. Now, I know it sounds like crazy talk what I'm saying next, but it's the chances of it happening are very serious. You will find that those stores will not be restocked. And then there's going to be real food shortages, like actual food shortages where there just ain't enough food, right? And you either got it or you don't. And that's when the fist fights start. That's when the gunfights start. That's when the fights start. And so this is your last chance. If it continues on this route, I continue to hear the government and others trying to play this up like, maybe they keep stretching it out. First, they're like, oh, we'll be open back up by the end of April. And what did I say at that time? I said, no, we're not going to be open at the end of April. I said, it's not going down, or you can open up if you like. You can open up if you like, and then it'll just be catastrophe, which is what Georgia and some other places are doing at this moment. However, which catastrophe is worse? To sit here and take it and watch our food supplies and everything else collapse, or get out there and take huge casualties from the virus? That's a tough one. I know what I would do. I would get out there and fight and maybe die. I wouldn't stay home and just wither away. But what I'm saying is I fully realize that either way, it's catastrophe. That we're just trying to mitigate. We're just trying to pick our catastrophe, basically. You want to pick your catastrophe fighting, or do you want to pick it hunkering down? Because this is not going to be over. I saw, one of the government officials today saying, that this may stretch out into August. It's like, no. It's not stretching out to August. It's going way beyond August. It's going to be going into 2021, period. There's no way around it. There's not going to be a vaccine. There's not, if we're lucky, there'll be some pharmaceuticals that will help immensely. Maybe there will, maybe there won't, but they need to get on them because here it comes. As Tyson just closed, and as millions of animals or pounds of animals are now being slaughtered in the fields, even while millions of Americans are now literally already in food lines, according to what I'm reading. Already millions. So there you go. And now a couple things. I'm just going to start taking questions because because it's more important to answer your questions now as best I can. I do study this 7 days a week, and I've seen so many things around the world in conflicts and in bad situations, so I might be able to answer questions that others are not actually quite suited to do. I'm looking at something over here on a different screen. Let's see here. I want to say one thing that's vital before I start answering questions is flexibility is key from here out for the rest of our lives, right? AI is, artificial intelligence is coming. There's going to be huge changes to our economies around the world. For instance, these McDonald's jobs and whatnot, a lot of those, they're going to be replaced by kiosk. That's pretty doggone clear. Even while this is going on, McDonald's is probably going to be investing in kiosk. I'm just guessing. I don't know. So I think that a lot of these jobs are going to just be gone, even when the economy does finally pick back up. Many economies around the world. And even as this goes on, AI, artificial intelligence, is growing so quickly. It's just a matter of time until we have truck drivers replaced by, self-driving trucks and that sort of thing. And so we all have to be highly flexible. Even writers, I've read about this 20 years ago, probably, that the day is coming when artificial intelligence will be writing fiction books. Luckily, I don't write fiction. But I mean, there's some things that for the foreseeable future, AI is not going to be able to do. Like my kind of work, it's going to take a while to replace it, but eventually it could. It could put up sufficiently persuasive, I think it'll be a long way down the road. But for like fiction books and that sort of thing, you can already probably use the AI to replace, Danielle Steele and that sort of thing, because they can crunch all these other successful books in the past. And anyway, long story short, a lot of people are going to be replaced. A lot of doctors are going to be replaced, a lot with AI and different things like the ability with our smartphones and that sort of thing to help diagnose diseases and us, a lot of things that usually require doctors in the future, they may not. So even highly paid, highly skilled people, a lot of them will probably be replaced by AI. Think about the implications of this. What I'm getting to is not all that, but flexibility. We have to rewire. Those of us who are not as flexible as others need to get it into our minds that from here on out in your life, high flexibility is a survival skill. And the people that are flexible enough to change and roll with the punches and surf the waves are going to be champion surfers. And those that can't are going to have problems. So everybody can. We just have to realize that we're going to have to, maybe a lot of people are going to have to change professions, and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, there's no way around it, not that I can see. And so, and a lot of things are going to change possibly that we can't even imagine yet. Like I was thinking of one today when I see reports about, for instance, a lot of this disease is exhibiting itself below the 35th parallel, right? I don't know. Let's see what's causing all that. Is it vitamin D, sunshine? I don't know. Heat, humidity? I have no idea. But if this disease is, if you can be reinfected with it, and it does have such a high fatality rate, what will people do that live up north? Will they move down to places like Florida, or will they move to places like Thailand? Will Thais who live in Canada come back to Thailand? Will Thais that live in cold places come back to Thailand, or likewise Vietnam? Likewise, Japan. Will they move to warmer places or colder places? We don't know, right? I mean, but it could cause demographic shifts, as things like this often do, right? So think about that. It could literally cause people to move where they live. And, some diseases like dengue, it's also viral, and it's highly a problem here in Thailand. Dengue, a lot of people, oh Lord, I must know 20 people that have gotten dengue before. And the first iteration of dengue often is not that bad. And the second one kills them, right? Or they call it break bone fever. It's horrific. The second, go of dengue, and you can get it another time. So what about this disease? Are you going to be reinfected? It's unknown at this point. But what if the second go is worse than the first? I don't know. Nobody knows yet. And so be flexible, be strong, and be a leader. And I want to say one last thing, and I'm going to questions. I was just communicating with my sister just before I went live. And she's a prepper like me, so she doesn't need the briefing. But I just mentioned to her, I was just like, as I've been saying so long, get everything that you need, get more than you need, and then double it. Because we don't know where this is going to go. I was watching a guy, a prepper from Argentina, talking about these, Venezuela, talking about these things. And he had a year and a half worth of food, and it turned out to be, it was not enough, not even close. So, I mean, these sorts of things happen a lot, and that was a year and a half. And so, of food. So, be prepared. This is live fire. You are at war. Let's start answering questions. I'll start at the top. And there's a lot of questions. So I'm just going to not say hello to everybody. I'm just going to shoot right for questions. And I am in my 19th day of fasting. James Jonathan Fair, you said you went from 15 pounds underweight, need to gain, but not eating junk food. Good. Actually, when you stock up too, don't stock up on a bunch of junk food. Make sure it's food that you really like to eat. Get enough. I'm looking at something over here. Get all the spices that you make that make you happy, right? Make sure that you're prepared to cook without electricity. Get preferably a multi-fuel stove. There's many types of those that'll burn like propane or butane, and it'll also burn, white gas or gasoline or kerosene. There's many types that'll do that. It's good to be flexible. And make sure, get yourself a pressure cooker. Like I mentioned numerous times before, if you have a big pressure cooker and you got a bunch of meat that's going bad because your electricity went out, throw it in the pressure cooker and cook it up, and then make a hunter's pot out of it, a hunter's stew, hunter's pot, also called the perpetual stew. Thais do it here in Thailand, and also English do it, that you just throw all the stuff in there and cook it up. And then just keep it simmering, just a very low heat after you've got it going. And you can keep it people do it for years. Literally years. And so you just keep eating just that way, none of it goes to waste. Get used to not wasting any grain of rice. No bean goes wasted. Make sure you don't ever, cook even one bean more than you're going to eat. Because food prices are going to go up, and you never know when. Listen, depression rules are in effect. Remember those of us who are old enough to have had grandparents that lived through that. They didn't like to waste stuff. And that's been imbued upon me as well. I don't like to waste a grain of rice. And make sure all the kids, they get that through their heads. If not, they'll be teaching their grandkids about not wasting stuff. I'll guarantee you that once they get hungry. Yeah, Stephen says everybody might be fasting soon. That's right. Hey, in Texas, let's get down to questions on here. Mississippi down there. And thank you, everybody who supported my work. I greatly need it. I've been working today on getting over to Taiwan. I'm also watching the United States very closely. If we have a catastrophic meltdown with the food supply in the United States, I've been saying we have food security in the United States. And we produce enough, but can we get it to the people that need it? We don't have a strategic grain reserve because our leaders, who also didn't stock up on masks, did something with our strategic grain reserve. It's gone. So think about also the implications for this for the rest of the world. Africa is going to start having buku problems. A lot of people are going to have big problems, and in the past, they've been able to depend on outside help. They're not going to get help from the United States when the United States has people in food lines. It's hard to imagine that that's going to fly politically in the United States if you're sending shiploads full of food over to Africa when you've got people starving or very hungry in the United States. So, and these things ripple. They turn into wars. They turn into Famines turn into wars, wars turn into famines, and both of these things turn into more pandemics. Remember, I was talking about the swine flu all last year on my live streams, or since at least June. And a lot of our pigs are already gone. And more pandemics can snap right into this. Hurricanes are still going to come. All these things are still going to happen. Get more food and more supplies than you think you need, and then double it, right? Do that. Just trust me. And let's get down here and keep, and people that call that hoarding, you know what? Don't do it. Please don't. People that call that hoarding and don't do it. You're such a bad guy. This is what I want you to do. I want you to get enough food for 72 hours so that the rest of us can get enough, right? And then you'll be doing your food line thing. And then when that starts to wear out, then you'll up was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, depending on how old you are, 30 years ago. And then once we saw this pandemic unfolding, that's when I kept telling people, stock up. This could be a big one. Well, it is a big one. Yeah, I do. You got a little head. Run along, boy. And I do. And so, hello, Olivia, Joyce, and Pensacola. Let's see. Let's look for some questions here. Wow, Peter lost 21 pounds last month. What? Per month? Wait a minute. In New Jersey, you lost 21 pounds this past month involuntarily to She's disease. She's disease. I hope you're okay. You're on Facebook, so you're still kicking. And obviously, as you know, beware of reinfection because we don't know yet. Okay, let's Deuce 4. Hey, Dave. I hope y'all on Deuce 4. I think of y'all every day, even while this is going on. Deuce 4, you guys are awesome. I learned a lot from Deuce 4. You guys were incredibly courageous in Mosul. Did you know the Deuce 4 was the most decorated battalion in the Iraq War? A lot of Deuce 4 guys I talk with don't even know that. Well, you earned it with, blood, sweat, and tears, and you killed a lot of Al-Qaeda. Gambi Indrin, not sure if the automatic closed captions is your enabling on Facebook. The closed caption is working fantastically, but if you're unable to move the location of the closed captions, it would be nice if your camera was lowered. Oh, are the closed captions on my face? If that's the case, because I remember somebody mentioned something like that before. But yeah, you're saying it covers my face. I don't know how to fix that while we're live here. I don't know how to fix it. I'm sorry about that. Well, there we go. I guess I could lower the camera. Well, I'll work on that closed caption when I go offline. I'm sorry about that. Take a note here. Let me try to answer some questions. Pam Sell just saying price went way up. Shira says, you think you know it all, whatever. Okay. Let's see. Wayshawn's saying it's Facebook. Audience can turn it off on their end. You mean closed captions? If so, Wayshawn, do you see closed captions over my face on yours? Okay. Hello in North Texas. Crops are left in the fields to rot. Man, that's production side there. And as you know, you can't just grow cows and corn overnight. Nicola says, I know you are never wrong so far, but I pray you are this time. I do too. I hope I've been wrong the whole time. I was hoping I was wrong in January, and I was saying that defensively, like, hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But unfortunately, I'm not. So Nicola says, my kids diet due to autism. It's impossible to stock up. Oh, no. I don't know about autism diets. That's just here. I may have to have it sent to to Taiwan if I can get a visa to Taiwan. You have to get a COVID visa for Taiwan, actually. And so I got to work on that today. And I haven't applied yet because I needed some more information. But if I go over there, if I can get in, if I can't get there, I'm going to America. And so either way is front line. It's kind of difficult for me, as you can imagine. I'm thinking about it every hour of the day that I'm awake. Where can I be of most use, Taiwan or America? That's me tapping my finger. Sorry, I'm thinking. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, I think I'll do well either way because I can make do living off the land. I can fast. I mean, I've got control of my mind. I can, relax in a lot of stress. But I'm very concerned about the United States. And I'm also very concerned about Taiwan, whether China will attack. And this is a tough one. I can't divide myself in half. This is one of those Afghanistan or Iraq situations, and I can't be in both places at once. So I went to Philippines, and then I went back to Iraq and Afghanistan. And let's see. John Grudge says, glad to live in the country with game, fish, room for gardens. Yeah, that's great. That's definitely great, especially for individuals that know how to live off the land. Of course, we can't feed the country like that, as you well know. But if you got a rifle and you live in the right places, you can kill a lot of white-tailed deer, and they breed like rabbits. So it's not like you're going to make them go extinct, And hello in Ripley, Ohio, and hello Iris Law in Hong Kong. I hope you're doing well. Thinking about Hong Kong all the time. Darling Raju says, can any please tell me the lockdown there and what are the effort of the government to find a cure for coronavirus? Are you in? Your name sounds Indian. I don't know where you're at, so I don't know. That context would help me with what you're trying to ask. Pauline says, block Chira guy. Okay. I'll block him when I get offline. Or actually, I might be able to block on a different screen over here. Get rid of him. We don't need grown children. They can go away and have fun with the breadlines, because this is big boy rules and big boy girls. Big girl rules, big boy and big girl rules. If you want to play games, then go starve. That's fine. If I see him pop up, I'll delete. I'll try to delete him on the other line over here. It might not be possible. I might have to do it after I go offline. All right, I won't waste time on that right now. Let me try to answer questions here. Okay. Barbara says, no milk today in Georgia at Dollar General store. Get powdered milk. Remember, you can get goat milk. I checked it today on Amazon. There was a lot of powdered milk and goat milk today on Amazon. I checked it. There was powdered cream, heavy cream, powdered cheese, powdered a lot of things. It's on Amazon right now. I was just checking it some hours ago, unless everybody just bought it out. But there's a lot of things. Remember to check Amazon and check other places like that. Check online. There's many places to check online. Kim Kozart Colbreth is saying, and thank you for the support, Kim. Very important. Remember when we were kids, people could go into the fields to pick bushels of fruit and vegetables themselves. Makes sense now. Actually, we used to do that. We'd go out with my grandparents, and you know how it is. You go out and pick your own strawberries. It's a smart deal. And then you pay, for those strawberries after you pick them or whatever, it can be whatever. And it was very smart for the farmers and very smart for us because we save money and we get out there and pick it, because we had a garden too at my grandparents' house. And I planted one here as well. If you look up, there's one guy that has a website. He does gangsta gardening, like gangster, and he does it in Los Angeles. He's got some good ideas for doing urban gardening. He's good to listen to. And also, check out whatever geographical area you're in, and other circumstance. Check out prepping pages for that, and to make sure that there's no need for you to look at how people prep in Alaska if you live down in Okeechobee, Florida. So look for people that are in your situation, and there's a lot of great ideas out there. Now, high-end people, quote unquote, call it resilience. Low-end people like me, we call it prepping, right? But I talk about resilience or prepping, and I use those interchangeably. And resilience and prepping are pretty much interchangeable. You might draw a little nuance there, but they're more or less interchangeable. It's just that resilience is a less politically loaded term. But the West and South won't have these kinds of You said won't have these kinds of problems. Be careful. Careful what you just said there. Producers like Tyson aren't relied on for chicken or beef. Be really careful with what you just said, because remember, that's leaving a black hole that other producers are going to start to fill, right? And so, and when the prices are higher, guess where those trucks are going to drive to? They're going to drive. And so, and let's say, let's say 10,000 stores in America lose a huge amount of their Tyson products. Well, that vacuum is going to get filled by other products from other producers, from other distributors, from other this is not like taking your hand out of the water. Well, let's put it like this. Maybe you can use that analogy, and the water gets lower and lower because there's a lot of hands going to be coming out of that water. And here's Kim O'Brien saying, tried to buy some more online from Costco, and there was literally nothing in order in my area, central Pennsylvania. Go ahead and check other places, of course, like Amazon. There's a lot on Amazon. I was just checking earlier. Kevin Burris is saying, Como today said he may move the date to May 15th. Yeah, we'll see. This is the thing. Once you open it up, then this thing's going to start again. Remember, this is old news. We're not experiencing anything that people that haven't experienced and don't experience all over the place all the time. It's just that a lot of the pandemics aren't, well, none in our lifetimes have been this big or this severe, let's say. Big and severe are two different things, right? But once once we start opening up, it's going to increase cases, period. That's what I mean. This is just there's centuries of history with this, and so let's see. Robert Day says, Michael Yon, then the government will claim they need to take control of food for sake of distribution. Oh, you can bet. You can bet. The government will seize power. The government that continues to screw up everything under the sun, like who got us into this to begin with, they'll do it. And like Kim O'Brien says, Smithfield already closed. And okay, Kim brings up an important point. Smithfield already closed, and they're big. And Tyson just closed, right? So that's two. This avalanche thing, watch. And once these two and so many more come offline, you'll see, I've seen this in other countries, then farmers will start to, well, they're killing their animals. And, they're pouring out milk. And they're not pouring out milk by the bucket full, by the glass full. They're pouring it out by the trainload full. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a lot of calories gone. And it's going to be replaced with something else. Alicia Wales Woodson says, where I can get chicken and beef outside of grocery stores. I'm in North Central Florida. Do I go straight to farmers? I would. Call up. There's a lot of restaurants out there, thousands and thousands of restaurants and distributors for restaurants who are going to have food. Maybe a lot of them still have it. And call them up. Call any restaurants in your area and ask them, do you have any inventory you want to sell? Call up local restaurants. It'll help them out. They want to unload their inventory, right? So help them unload and help you feed your family. Thanks, SB. In northern Florida, by the way, Alicia, there is a lot of, if you have water problems, make sure you know where all the springs are, all the Blue Springs and all that. Florida's got wonderful springs up there. I've swam in half of them, it seems like. Well, there's too many to swim in half of them unless you dedicate months of your life. But know where they are, know where the clear running rivers are, like Ishintucky River, and that's, which I never pronounce right, even though I've been down it so many times on the inner tube and that sort of thing. Crystal River, and know where all that nice clean water is. So in any case, if you need nice clean water, you can go down there and get you some, right? And Florida produces a lot of water. There are springs all over the place. As you know, lakes all over the place, rivers all over the place. Make sure you got good water filters, and you can be okay on water in Florida. Barbara Summey, I was told today by a nurse the hospitals are like ghost hospitals, only virus patients. Hospitals may shut down and then no services for other people. They are losing money. Okay, this is something I warned about in January, in February. As this virus kicks off, which it now has, stop doing your parachuting, stop doing your mountain biking, stop doing your rock climbing. I know they're all fun. I've done them all. They're lots and lots of fun. Stop doing your martial arts. You shouldn't be doing martial arts now for every reason. Although, that I love that too. But stop doing anything that can get you hurt or get you infected. And because if you break an arm now, that's quite serious. It's probably like, I only had a broken arm. Now I got a broken arm and I got the virus because I had to go to the hospital, right? Or you may not even be able to get in because, you have a car accident because you can't get in because the hospitals are full. There's not enough staff. Even if the hospital is not full and there's not enough staff, you don't want to wait 3 hours for treatment after your head went through the windshield, right? Be safe. Big boy rules. This is combat rules. No medevac, right? Ambulances I've read up in New York sometimes take hours. I don't know if it's still like that, but it was about a month ago. Hours for 911 calls, getting put on hold for 911 calls. Don't do anything that can get you hurt, right? Stop juggling scissors and chainsaws. So, be just really careful. Don't do things that'll get you sick. Because everything's on the table here. Looking for questions here. Hey, Kaitia Holland, when you put up a link, please put at least one sentence and tell people what it is so they don't have to click through to see. And that'll be very helpful. Thank you. Pam Sellard says, some farmers are selling direct. Definitely call up the farmers. Emma Luton says, so you encourage us to stock up before our friends and fellow citizens are getting hold of the food, or I just misunderstand you. No, you don't misunderstand me. I've been saying it crystal clear since January. Stock up now. Stock up now. Stock up now. Is that clear? You got it? Stock up. Or don't stock up. I don't care. Don't stock up. See? And then when you don't stock up and later you're hungry, this will be the violin I play because you didn't prepare. Sorry, you didn't stock up. I told you 500 times to stock up. You didn't stock up. There you go. Tough luck. Have a fun time with it. This is big boy and big girl rules here. This is combat. You are in war. If you make a mistake, you will pay for it. There ain't going to be no nice parachute. Nobody's going to come hold your hand and make you feel better and read bedtime stories. You'll go to bed hungry. Your kids will go to bed hungry. Let's see. John Garrard is saying, look for Mennonite or Amish communities that operate stores. Also local smaller grocery stores. That's right. Amish, Mennonites, Quakers, they often prepare. Actually, when I went to Hong Kong, one of the first things I did was find Quakers. I didn't actually make contact with them, not anything direct, but I was thinking about just asking them about how things are going on over there. Quakers often are good information sources. Let's see. Alexander says, discuss the video from a nurse regarding patient care in New York City. It's a good idea. I published it on my Patreon. And thank you, everybody who's signing up for my Patreon. There's over 300 people on it now. I need it. I would like to make it about 1,000 or more, at least, because then so many things are going to happen. I know inflation is coming. So first of all, there's not enough support there yet anyway to really go full bore on Taiwan or America. But I know inflation's coming. And with that, then whatever monthly donations are there are going to decrease in value. But anyway, I digress. I put a video on Patreon of this nurse talking about her nurse friend in New York and talking about how, just watch the video. The best is to watch the video. It's on my Patreon. And I did not corroborate if that particular video is accurate. I had the feeling that she's legit. But I put that caveat in there. Normally, I don't publish things like that, but it just felt legit. And I had already gotten information from others up there, not related to this video, but were saying very similar things. And so it was resonating with other things that I heard from people that I actually know are legit. So yeah, beam you up, Scotty. There ain't going to be no beaming up from this, Steve, but you can handle it. Let's see. Charlotte, let's see, on the outside skirts of me in the cities, this virus is taking out the blacks. I worked for the Chinese in security quite a few years ago. They don't like anything black, even in their foods. They watch that people throw out and use that against them. Yeah, I mean, from mainland China, there's definitely a lot of high prejudice against blacks. High. Super high. Hello, North Texas, David Bowie. And hello, Kim. You've been right on. Wish you could be a special advisor to our president, Congress, and other leaders. Yeah, I should. I don't know if they would listen anyway. Let's see. Thank you for saying that, Kim. Barbara, read an article in Iran has 400 missiles pointed at the U.S. Have you heard this story? If they hit the United States mainland with a missile, that will probably be the end of Iran. If they shoot at our ships or something like that, I don't know, but if they shoot the mainland and the United States and the president doesn't completely obliterate Iran, I think that he won't be reelected. And I think he knows that. So, I mean, if Iran were to hit the United States mainland with any missiles, I would expect such a devastating response without invasion that Iran won't have much more to think about other than the genocide we leave behind. And it doesn't take nuclear weapons. We've got other weapons that can do some pretty serious things. Mark says, epidemiological data is still sketchy. What are your favorite, most accurate sources for info? So many governments, so many different standards. I look at Science and Nature. Those are good places that's more scientists chit-chatting. It's not for people that don't have a taste for more meaty science type things. But I like places where scientists chit-chat together or write to each other, and because also they don't. Well, I'm not going to say they don't tone it down. They do too, because they can be a lot of scientists, a huge amount of scientists are politically corrupted as well, financially corrupted, and that sort of thing. Not all, but a lot. But you get more accurate information from places like that, certainly, than you do from journalists who, in most cases, will lack the education to talk about some of these topics, because some of these are specialist topics, obviously, with the virus and that sort of thing. And remember, the virus is only a subset now. As I've been saying for a long time, we're going to get to a point where the virus part will be, and we'll just be going, oh, and then there's that virus, right? I mean, when we get to food shortages, profound food shortages, or wars, or any of that other thing, There'll be so many things going on. We'll be going, oh, and then there's this terrible virus happening and food shortages. Because when there's food shortages, trust me, the priority will be food. It will not be the virus. It will be food for sure. So when people's families are hungry and that sort of thing, when they are hungry, they will take the risks to go get food. No matter what those risks are, most people are going to go get food. Hello, Pauline Leong. Hello from Toronto. Support Michael. Yes, and thank you for saying that very much, Pauline, and thank you. Thank you. And we do have to, Pam says, teach children to be self-sufficient. We have to teach them. That's one of the things that Thailand has going for it. King Rama IX, the previous king, great man and friend of the United States, he taught self-sufficiency for decades. So to Thai people, self-sufficiency, that's like a catchphrase. Resilience in Thailand is a catchphrase. In Thailand, people are used to that. They're used to the idea of having gardens. Not all of them do, of course, but a lot of the Thais are used to, you have to, if there's a disaster, you don't depend on the government. The government will come, but you have to depend on yourself. And a lot of Americans have learned this the hard way over and over, and fires and earthquakes and everything else. They're like, where's the government? Well, guess what? You are it until finally people come, and often, if not usually, the people that do bring help are not even the government anyway. So you have to be self-sufficient. You have to develop that within your circle of friends and family in your neighborhood. Alicia says, thank you all. We live in farmland outside of Gainesville, Florida. We definitely check into the options. We have a lot of frozen meat, but I imagine we should fill out the last freezer. Near Gainesville, there's loads of farms up there. Go out near, there's so much. And in Florida, you're never far from the coast. You can get out there past Gilbert County and get over to the seacoast out there and, get fish right off the boats, that sort of thing. And up near Gainesville, you got lots of springs. You got a lot of freshwater, clear running springs. And so there's a lot of benefits to living in that area. You got lots of farms. Don't go stealing people's horses unless you get really hungry. Then you might go down to Ocala and take some horses, but you might get shot. Those horses are expensive. John says, I've been feeding squirrels all winter just in case. That's a good idea. Truck drivers. Brian Baker says, truck drivers will not be losing their jobs to robots. The lane mitigation systems, along with the braking mitigation systems, continuously fail, not to mention the people that'll sabotage the equipment. With McDonald's, the systems are in public and the people can sabotage them, as well as revolts happen. I wouldn't count on that. Brian. I would not count on that. I would not count on that at all. Tup Tiang Dill says, with the news that the sun and high humidity take out the virus, are you in the right place? If you mean Thailand, for sun and humidity, this is it. Definitely. But I need to go to where my skills are needed. And Thais are good at taking care of themselves, actually. I'm worried about China attacking Hong Kong and Taiwan, and I'm also worried about meltdown in my United States. And so that's I'll take my chances with the virus, and if I get killed, I get killed. I'm a war correspondent. I'm a big boy. Thank you, Malaya. How do you pronounce your name, Malaya? 19 days fasting. Yeah, I'm on it. Rachel says, after seeing wet markets, haven't been able to eat meat anyway. Angela says, how are you sustaining yourself on the fast? Supplements, obviously water, just water now. Did I have coffee today? If not, I had it yesterday. And vitamins, that's all. Just multivitamins, magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C. I think that's it. And that's it. Not I've got elderberry coming, but it's not here yet. Let's see. Tup Tong says, in talking to my friends in Yasatorum, that's a part of Thailand. They have great rocket festivals. The hot season is coming to close. Is Thailand going to get an insurance of patents? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. I hope Thailand gets plenty of rain this year. I know there's been some predictions about maybe not. Google Blue Dot. Any favorite early warning sources for epidemics? I actually, one of the best sources for epidemics is just to watch the news. I mean, I've learned this since I was a teenager, not just about epidemics, but about serious stuff in general. Often, and I wrote this, I think, in my first book, Danger Close. I think I published that in 1999, something like that. Danger Close. It's a great book. You should read it. You can get it online as an ebook. That's my book, Danger Close. I think I mentioned it somewhere in this book. I haven't read my book in many years. Hey, I opened right to a survival page of all things. I opened right to a survival page, actually. And, but, often I've seen big things unfolding and it'll be way in the back. Often, by the way, science journals often are months and months ahead of any newspaper mention. I've noticed that since I was a kid. Like I used to read Scientific American every month, cover to cover, right? And now I read other things. And then you would often see things in there that would be 6 months or even years in advance, right? And then when it gets into the newspapers, like this one did, like I was already noticing this back in December-ish, but I didn't know if it should be taken seriously yet. I didn't start taking it seriously for sure until January 11th. I know on January 11th I was taking it seriously because I see my message traffic with somebody, and this was not from but you'll notice there'll be little hints, but they're often in the back of newspapers and that sort of thing. Oh, you're asking? Do I think there'll be an increase in the virus in Thailand? Oh yeah, I do. I don't know how much though. Thais are smarter with the masks. Thais are actually respectful of the virus, where a lot of Americans are just like, it's just the flu. You're a panic monkey, and whatever. And now they're dead. There's a lot of people, I'm sure. I mean, there's maybe 55,000 dead Americans now. I wonder how many of those were joking and insulting people like me 3 months ago, and they're dead now. I mean, it's that serious. And, that's just the way it goes. I'm sure a lot of those people would be alive if they had taken it seriously. And then some people who take it seriously are still going to get it and die. But you can certainly mitigate your chances. George says, I have a batshit in caves to make ammo, and I'll kill my food if I need be. Well, if you know how to use that to make your to saltpeter, you can do it because it's there. You can certainly make gunpowder with the bat guano if you've got also some sulfur and some charcoal, and those other two are easier to come by. Yeah, I was in this cave up in Tennessee. They used to mine that cave to make gunpowder in the Civil War. I went way back in that cave, way back. They were making tombstones way back in that cave, and some of them are still back there. Let's see. Ted says, got natural gas stove, good. Barbecue smoker, excellent. And barbecue propane, good. Georgine Madigan says, I'd be spending my entire day in the bathroom if I was drinking all that water. I mean, I don't drink too much water. You don't want to drink too much. It'll throw your electrolytes out. I just drink enough until I'm good with it. I don't drink the water to satiate my hunger. I just drink it to because you need water. What do I think about the oil and gas? Uh, Julie is asking. Well, I think our fracking business has been smashed, but I also think that a lot of other countries are getting smashed as well, like Russia, because their economy is dependent upon oil, as is Iraq, Libya, so many other countries. Many countries are dependent on oil, or highly dependent on oil, at least highly dependent on oil. And they are in for a terrible ride. I don't even know what's going to happen with Russia, but it's not going to be good. Alicia says, my dad always tells me his grandpa would scoop all the egg out of the shell with her pinky, nothing wasted. Yeah, there you go. Peace Da says, you look sick. You okay? I'm fine. I'm feeling great. Let's see. Kevin says, we have to cook beef, pork, and chicken to eat it anyway. So why are they so worried? Well, you got to I mean, they don't want all their employees sick. All right. Let me shoot down. Oh, gosh, there's so many questions. I can't possibly answer them all. I just shot down all the way to the end. Anthony Perello, my friend in Bangkok. Supply and demand. No demand crisis crash. Russia's economy is dependent on oil trade. Yeah. And see, that's where these prices go wonky now in the United States. And that's why a lot of people are like, well, you're saying prices would skyrocket, and they haven't skyrocketed. They've decreased or they've increased. Now they're increasing because they do these crazy things. Demand decreased because when restaurants and everything closed, people started staying home and people have less money. Demand decreased. But now watch, you see Tyson, Smithfield, and others going out of business or closing anyway. And then farmers dumping out food, dumping out, all sorts of things. And now the supply will be decreased, right? And so trust me, food prices, I'll give you 10-1 odds. I wish I were a betting man with money. I would bet 10-1 odds you'll see significant food in prices. So I would buy food as much as you can get right now. Let's see. Michelle Witzel is talking about Medcram. Medcram's interesting and good to watch. I watch it sometimes. Mark Elliott saying 98% of people around me are oblivious to what's going on. They all think this is just temporary virus problems. They're in for a hurt. And remember what old people have said for years. The less prepared the people are around you, the more prepared you must be. Because when food supplies do go, when there's really shortages, I don't mean inventory outages for a few weeks with toilet paper. I mean like the shelves are really honestly empty and they're not going to be filled anytime soon. It could be months, it could be longer. You could have severe food shortages. When the food does come back, those shelves will be emptied out by the people who are less prepared. And there'll be fights and all kinds of stuff. So, now's the time. You'll have people robbing delivery people. This happens all the time. You'll have people stealing crops from farmers' fields. And I've seen this in other countries. This is nothing new. This is following a script, right? It's like a doctor that's seen, 1,000 car crashes. You're like, okay, I know how this goes. If we can't stop the bleeding and open the airway, they'll be dead soon. You know what I mean? It's the same way with this right here. There's cause and effect. I'll guarantee you prices are going up. Okay. There are so many questions here. Keith says whoops. There we go. There are some debate about elderberry. It's good to keep you well, but if you come down with something, stop taking it in case it adds to the cytokine storm. your immune system is mounting. Look into it and make your own decision. But I decided to err on the side of caution with it. Don't forget A and zinc. Yeah, actually, I'm taking A as well. Consider Dr. Shiva's recommendation if you haven't. Will do. Word Dunlap says, early warnings for pandemics, disasters, accidents. I've used it for a year as a publisher. Yeah, Stephen's right. This reminds me of like when the water recedes just before the tidal wave comes. We're watching the water go out to sea and people are scratching their heads. Absolutely. I've actually used that analogy before, and I think that's a perfect analogy for this. There's a lot of things going on that are confusing because it's, prices up, prices down, prices up, prices down. This is doing it, but ultimately it's headed towards shortages. Ultimately, that's the trajectory, right? And it's headed towards economic collapse, right? Excuse me. And that's ultimately where it's headed. That's clear. When there was the big tsunami in Thailand, you'll see videos online. You can see some on YouTube. The water's going out, and there are a lot of people out there. Literally, you can see them. They're out there like this, like what's going on? And some of them are walking out as the water is receding. They're going out following it. Excuse me. And then there was some Japanese, as I recall, out screaming at them, get back, because Japanese know about tsunamis, right? Japanese were trying to warn people, get back, get back, get back. And other people that knew what it was, like me and you, we know what it is, right? And so, and people are just like, and finally they see the water coming, and you see people running for their lives in some of those videos, and some make it and some are gone. They're just gone. The ignorance of what that symptom is cost them their lives. And many will never be seen again. They're just gone. Huge amounts of people were never seen again. Likewise with this. This virus is killing somebody right now at this second. Somebody just died, and somebody just died again. And a lot of these people are dying right now because they didn't know or did not heed or joked about it and didn't wear a mask or got in big crowds, and now they're dead and life goes on. Okay. Hey, Bashir Ahmad Siddiqui, my friend from Afghanistan, now living in America. Well, welcome to America in the pandemic. We are fasting now and got saving in food supply. Good. Well, are you fasting for Ramadan? Is this Ramadan? Man, I lost track of season if it's Ramadan. Well, if it's Ramadan, I hope you're having a good Ramadan. Let's see. You can come live with us in Pennsylvania. Be careful. If things get bad and I happen to be out there somewhere, I know how to use a rifle. We can go out there hunting together. I was just talking with a new friend up in Alaska. I might go bear hunting with him if we, get some meat on the table. Hog farmer Susan Richardson. Hog farmers in South Dakota are selling live hogs for $90 each. You must transport and find someone to process, though. Oh, that'd be easy. I'd shoot it on the spot, gut it, and be gone. I might not even gut it. I might take all of it. Probably would take all of it, actually, because you can, make chitlins and all that. Barbara Summey, this is the time we grow our chickens, pigs, and cows and kill ourselves. That's right. Pete Ruthstone, diesel, durable foods, ammunition, propane, potable, stabilized water. That's the barter of the hard times. That's right. You got that right. Yeah, don't forget to stock up for your pets. I've done that quite a lot, actually. Yeah, Terry Cole, guess it takes the rational media taking notice that what we've both been saying for months. Exactly. And you know what's interesting, though, is now a lot of the media is they went from, hey, it's just the flu, it's nothing. And I'm talking CNN and Fox, and all of them were doing that. All of them, to my knowledge. Maybe there's probably some exceptions out there, but all the ones that I was seeing we're all like, hey, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's probably nothing. And the next thing you know, then they start to realize, uh-oh, this thing's for real. And now a lot of them are overreacting. Now they're causing panic, and it goes from like, hey, it's nothing. And that's why I've been saying stock up for so long. If you prepare everything in advance, there's no panic. You're just like, whatever, everything's cool with me. I watch everybody fight. It's like, I'm just gonna sit down here and stay out of the way. Ewan Kip Moon says, I'm going the spam route. No freezer needed. Oh man, you can't eat spam that long. Well, maybe you can. It'll give you a headache, won't it, if you eat it that long? Julie says, what do you think about gas and propane? Oh, fill your tanks up. Yeah, definitely. I went and got big propane tank and that sort of thing. I don't need it. That's my backup. That's one of my backups. I got a couple backups, several actually, more than a couple. Gardens are a great idea if you can get water. That's right. Water's not a problem for some people, but for some people, it's. Yeah, Anthony saying brain dead or not, Kim is gone. So are surgeons. Yeah, probably. I need a deep freezer. Been sold out for months now. Yeah, some people, it may have been you, Megan, on a previous day. Welcome back, by the way. That said that freezers are out, and then I went offline later and I checked on some places in America to see if deep freezers are available, and I noticed that there were shortages of freezers. Let's see. Pete says, Ruth Stone, civilization is only 3 square meals from anarchy. That's what a British Army officer used to tell me. He would say it pretty much like that. He would say it often. He told me we would be talking, and he would just like, he said it so many times. He'd be like, Michael, with that proper British accent, we're never more than, what would he say? I don't know if he said 3 meals, but it would be like 2 or 3 days from complete anarchy, basically no food. Oh yeah, straight up. You'll have food riots. When people can't feed their children and that sort of thing, they get angry, especially the hangry people. Kaita Holland saying, what do I think about Kim being missing or dead? It looks like he's probably out of action forever, but I don't know. We'll see. Robin Gray says, I got some Iosat potassium iodide tablets for Amazon for radiation exposure. Keep those on hand. That's a good idea. New Zealand announced today that, that's for your thyroid. New Zealand announced today that COVID-19 is eliminated. Well, good luck. This is the thing. Well, as long as they really are very careful with who they let in and make everybody go through quarantine, then they can open up within their own country. Notice some of the Pacific Island countries did close, even they closed even when they had no cases, and then they made a quarantine. I don't know how they carried out that quarantine, but in principle, I will say that's smart, because you can see if you have any cases and then just open up business as usual. And then you can start, exporting or whatever you're doing. And then anybody you let back into the country after that point, you just got to go quarantine, bottom line. More on vitamin D preventing respiratory illnesses. Tony's put that up. SB says, isn't it 13 meals from anarchy? I don't know, but I know it's not many meals. Mike Carlson says, chest freezers are great. Get a vacuum sealer. Buy meat when it's on sale. Yeah, exactly. And listen, also, like my freezer, I got a new one as well. I'm saving electricity, and I can see I am because I've been watching it very closely. I put my own thermostat inside of it, which is a Wi-Fi. It's a Bluetooth thermostat, so I can check the temperature like here or at my desk. And by putting a jacket and some other things in it and insulating it on the sides and stuff, It's not insulated as well as I'm going to do it yet on the sides. I'm improving that, but I've insulated a lot on the top with like a blanket and a yoga mat and some other stuff. I can already see that I'm able to turn it down quite a bit so that I'm not using as much electricity, just because I insulated it by putting like thick pile jacket inside and that sort of thing. You can save yourself a lot of electricity by putting more insulation, and also use space blanket for your the silver ones for just in case your electricity goes out, then your goods in your freezer will last a little longer. Matthew says, "Oh, Brenda's asking, did I get my Berkey? No, I was like waiting for it all day. It didn't come. A waited for Berkey never arrives. It still didn't come." Yeah, let's see. Matthew says Bakersfield. Make sure to put a link. Make sure, Matthew, when you put a link up, to put a sentence of introduction so people can decide if they want to click through. Matthew said, saw a video of doctors from Bakersfield talking about how they stay at home. They consider it loonies because it messes with the natural order of herd immunity. Sean Brown, if you're looking for meat, don't shop the big name stores. Shop at your local butcher shop. It helps them, helps the local ranchers, and you know what you're getting. That's a good idea. And Michelle's been canning meat. Excellent. Brenda's got hers Berkey already, 2.25 gallon. That's the big Berkey, I think, right? Because that's the one I ordered. I think it's the same one. It's the big Berkey, right? I got the big Berkey. It's not the biggest one. It's actually the second smallest one. They call it the big Berkey for some reason. Pam Sellard says freezers are more efficient if full. Place a gallon jugs of water in the freezer to take up space. Oh yeah, I mean, so actually my freezer's full, but that last little part up there, that was where, because my freezer is not like one of these. It's not a Nancy Pelosi freezer that's got that freaking outstanding insulation. So I can feel the sides of my freezer are quite cold. That means it's leaking or it's absorbing heat. You don't leak cold, you absorb heat, but the sides and the top are quite cold. And so that's why I don't want I don't want that. I continue to, I just bought some space blankets and some magnets so that I can put space blankets around it. But on the top, I've got it very well insulated now with all kinds of stuff. And so, that, you want to make sure that it doesn't feel cold on the outside, because you're losing electricity, and you're making that thing work harder. And also, if your electricity goes out, that means it's going to get warmer faster, right? So make sure it's properly insulated. Rebecca says, I've gone vegan. I'm losing weight, feeling awesome. Outstanding. Now, for those of us who adapt quickly, this thing can be the best thing that ever happened to us in some weird ways. If we take this time and use it fruitfully and meditate and that sort of thing, because a lot of people are going to have more time on their hands, and some won't if they're on the front line. And I won't whenever I actually join the front line again. Right now, I'm in a state of study and repose, which I do sometimes anyway. And then then I go to Hong Kong for 6 months of fighting or whatever, or Iraq, Afghanistan, Thailand fighting or whatever. And so then it's bang, 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 months after month after month. And people are like, when are you ever going to take a break? And I'm like, I'm not, and then I'll get into these phases as well. Let's see. Weishan is saying, Iris Law saying in Hong Kong, one question: if electricity is gone, meat will no longer keep. That's right. Make sure that I don't know what kind of freezer or other refrigeration you have in Hong Kong. I mean, I don't know what kind of place you live in, that sort of thing. But get a pressure cooker one that's sufficiently big to cook everything that's in your freezer if you can. And, if it's a big pressure cooker, get it. And then if your electricity's out for too long and things start to go bad, throw it in a pressure cooker and cook it up. And then use that pressure cooker as a hunter's stew, a hunter's pot. And that's a pot where you keep it going forever. I mean, there's British pubs like keep it going for 100 years or more. Look online for hunter's pot Britain. You'll see these legal fights with, these inns in England and whatnot with the health department, like, hey, you got to clean out that pot. And they're like, this thing's been going for centuries. And you know what I mean? They just keep adding stuff to it. And they do it in Thailand too. And I'm telling you what, when you get a hunter's pot going like they do in Thailand or UK, I get one going here sometimes. I'm fasting now. But I could have kept it going the entire time I was fasting. It'd be no problem. You just keep it very little simmering, just warm enough that, it's still, the bacteria are not in there and that sort of thing. Just keep adding to it. And the flavor just gets better and better and better. That's why Thais do it, English and others do it. You don't waste any food and it just gets better and better and better. Like 3 months later, it's like the best stuff you've had. You don't even want to go out to eat. It's too good to eat at home. Wayshawn says, I ordered a black Berkey, I think it was a blackberry pump from the eastern states of Australia. And after a month, still not here. Not sure what's up. Everything else from there only took 2 weeks. Those Berkeys seem to be in short supply because, some people aren't able to get them now. Sam Edwards, what's your take on herd immunity? We should have done a test group trying the method by now. Maybe the Teddy Roosevelt carrier crew results should be studied. Well, I mean, different countries are doing in different parts are doing different things, but the scientists are just going to have to watch closely. But to really test that, you're going to need like a adiabatic system or a hermetically sealed system, at least, where people aren't coming and going. Like you said, maybe a ship would do it. But it's hard to keep people on there. That's a medical experiment that, you might be able to do that under Chinese law, but under American law, you're not going to be able to force people, even if they're in the military, to stay on a ship like that, and do a medical experiment on them that wildly open. But even with Sweden testing that idea, there's still people crossing out, the border and coming into and out of Sweden. And so, there's no control group. Pot Jamaran is saying, Michael, when do you plan to go to Taiwan? I heard Thailand airport is closed until May. Oh yeah. First I got to get a visa. And like, if you look online to get a visa for Taiwan, there's a 14-day quarantine. You got to get a COVID visa. And then when I go, I'll be in quarantine for 14 days. So that's like right off 14 days for quarantine if I can get there. And so, if I can get the visa, Teza, if not, I'll go to the United States. Teza McDonald, do you think the CCP warships are just going to go around and around in the South China Sea, or do you think there is a method to their madness? Well, they might be waiting for the moment to strike. They might be doing exercises, that sort of thing. Let's see. Matthew Dill, regarding the news conference. Let's see. Well, I'll tell you what. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and go offline. It's coming on 3 a.m. here. It's 02:47. I am going to get my friend Igal Zur on. I almost got him on yesterday and today. He's in Israel. He's got a new book out. I first met Igal while I was cannibal hunting in India, and then an Israeli got killed there, and we were searching for him, and he drowned actually, and that was where I met Igal. But I should have Igal on soon, very soon. Brenda got her Berkey. Good. Lisa says, just ordered dry cheese, butter, heavy cream, and eggs. Thanks for the tip. You're good to go. You're welcome. Yeah, you can get all that stuff on Amazon. I checked dried cheese today on Amazon. They had it. They had dried butter on Amazon today. They had heavy cream and eggs all powdered on Amazon today. I checked them all. And there's a lot more on there as well. So you can do that. Rick says, thanks for everything that you're doing. Bought a freezer and stocked it up with meat and veggies. You're most welcome. I'm very happy you did that. You're welcome, Iris Law, over in Hong Kong. But again, make sure you plan as if your electricity is going out. Remember all the things that I've said that sounded crazy in January, like flights will be grounded. Well, I didn't know back then, but I thought that they might. That's why I was saying stock up on food back then. And I bought those 600 masks and gave 400 away in Hong Kong and brought the rest to Thailand to give away. But so many of those things they sounded crazy. They sound unimaginable for a lot of people. They're like, we'll never shut down the economy. No way on the earth. We'll never ground the flights. We'll never, and boom. We'll never close the restaurants, and boom. We'll never close hospitals. Stay tuned. We'll never close down food production. Stay tuned. We'll never have food shortages in the United States. Now, on that topic, I know the United States has plenty of food and plenty of food production capacity. And so months ago, I was saying we probably won't have a problem in the United States with food, but we actually might. We might have a severe problem with food simply because, we see what's happening with Tyson and Smithfield and others, right? And farmers destroying their inventory, And so that's why I kept saying to Americans and everybody else, stock up, stock up, stock up now. And remember, whatever country you're in, the problems that you end up facing may not even start in your country. Like, the virus, that's one good example. But also, when there's food shortages and other things and wars in other places, we all know how this goes. So stock up on everything that you need. Remember, back in January, I was saying stock up on pharmaceuticals, stock up on food, stock up on all the items you need if electricity is going to go out. And if you want to see what it's like to have no electricity on, just flip your breaker on your house for a day and operate without electricity if you can get by with your freezer and refrigerator. And then you'll learn, okay, here's how I war game this thing. This is what I actually need to make it work right. We can live without electricity. That's no problem. But you need to, you might want to test it. Even though I'm very prepared without electricity, I've turned it off and tested it. I test it and say, okay, let's make sure how it really is when the electricity out. Am I missing something? Have I not taken something into account? You might not take into account that your water pump doesn't work, right? I've got that into account. Even if city water goes out, and even if my water pump goes out, listen, if electricity goes out, a lot of people in the world, if your electricity goes out, your water goes out. A lot of other people, it depends on where you're at. In some places, electricity can go out and you still got water. But even then, if your water goes out at the city, if your electricity goes out because of this virus, there's an extremely high chance your water is going to go out, right? And so don't play games with this. That's why I built a system where even if city water goes out, even if electricity goes out, I got plenty of water and it's not dependent on any electricity. It's gravity. So I'm good to go. And you can do that too. Let's see, what is Jeanette? Texas governor on air right now. Reopening Texas economy, phase 1. Lots of businesses, malls, movie theaters, restaurants at 25% capacity to see 2 weeks data on whether to open phase 2 and beyond. Well, it's going to take that long before they start seeing the negative effects, because there's going to be negative effects. We can say that with pretty high confidence. A lot of it depends too on how smart people are when it does open up. Do they wear masks? Do they keep some social distance? Do they start going in secret bars and things like that and taking their mask off and getting drunk and spitting in each other's face, talking up close like idiots?
uh, because this virus is a stupid seeking virus. It seeks out stupidity and kills it, And so if people get out there and they don't wear a mask and they get all close and huggy up together with each other, uh, Mother Nature will claim her due. Iris Law is saying solar system might be needed. Good. I have a solar system, so that's why I can run off grid. But I'm attached to the grid as well. I can go without grid. But economically, is it good? Well, that's a tough question. If the grid stays on, it's okay. I'll lose money. If the grid stays, but it's already gone off. It goes off pretty frequently, actually, because of my location. It's been out. I have to check the event thing because I can see it on my computer. But if it goes out for several days, I'll be okay. I can run my freezers and refrigerator. It's no problem as long as there's sun. And I don't need sun every day either. But as long as I get sufficient sun, I'll be able to run it for indefinitely. If I get like 8 days of sun, I won't have enough. But then I'll just cook everything. It gives me enough time to start cooking everything. But if it goes the way Thailand, as I know it is, I've got enough panels to just work off the sun. But is it economical? It's economical if everybody else loses power and I don't, because then I'll still be able to. I won't have to. My freezers and everything will still be working. I'll still be able to come on live and talk with you. But if I didn't have that capacity with the solar, I wouldn't be able to go live and say, hey, the electricity's out everywhere except for here. And so there you go. But yeah, resilience wise, it's worth it, or I wouldn't have done it. But it's an expense for me at this point. I was talking with a friend of mine. He's got a Tesla car in the United States. Because, I was looking at these Tesla systems. They don't have them in Thailand, to my knowledge, anyway. I was just checking it out for the future in the United States when I go back. Really go back at some point. I want to live part-time in Thailand and part in the United States eventually, as I go on through the years. And I want a home that's extremely resilient and not because, the chances that we'll get hit with solar issues like a Carrington storm or, EMP or something, a virus that takes out the grid is actually severe. It's actually a much higher chance than we'll be hit with a pandemic. We just got hit with a pandemic. And so, but the chances of the electrical grid going out from something else is actually significantly higher than getting hit with a pandemic like this. And we are getting hit with the pandemic. So even tomorrow, that's why I said months ago, these disasters, they don't happen. They don't, Murphy's Law is always in effect. And we could have a Carrington storm right now. And if that happens, if we have a Carrington storm now and it takes out the entire grid in the United States and around the world, oh Lord, hundreds of millions dead, probably hundreds of millions. If not, I don't know, maybe a billion or more. I have no idea. In the prospects of something like a Carrington storm, taking out grids around the world, and the United States hasn't hardened our grid. And so I want something that's completely offline, that can be completely offline. And if you get an entire system like that, even if you had an electrical car, and I'm not talking doing this for green reasons or to sell money back to the grid. I'm talking about to have an island of resiliency so that you actually can power your transport. You can actually, with solar, because when you bring your car home, you can plug it in at home, right? If you got enough solar panels and you're living in the right part of the world. Kim Wise Moore says, thank you for all of your advice. I appreciate it so much. And I hugely appreciate your support, Susan. That's massively helpful. Made my day. Very important. For everybody who's supporting my work, thank you very much. Big time on supporting me on Patreon or PayPal. Patreon's the best because it comes in
monthly. Um, and and PayPal's great too. I'll take anything that you want to give. But I love Patreon because then I can plan on it. I mean, if I had even 1,000 Patreon supporters, that would make a huge difference on how I would reframe on how I look at things. And if I had several thousand Patreon supporters, which I should with all the type of information I give out, but I would be able to actually hire people full time and actually employ people during this time to to do important things and help people get information out. You know, and Susan, it's very tempting actually to come back to the United States. I want to go to Taiwan because I'm really worried that China is going to attack. Uh, Likewise, um, I'm very concerned about issues in the United States that could lead to very serious civil unrest and the continuation of our economic collapse, which is definitely happening right now, with no end in sight at this point. And one idea that I have is to, and I've been talking about it with some people, is to go home to the United States and get a motorhome, and a really nice motorhome that is sufficient that I could live in it easily for a year. And I can do that. I got mind control. It's no problem. But also operate out of it and do these sorts of things, interviews outside or inside of it, and travel around the United States and find out who is thriving, who's making money, who's making their local economies work, even if it's not money, and who is reinventing barter systems and that sort of thing. What are they using Bitcoin? Are they whatever? Speaking of which, I accept Bitcoin. Send all you got. And but in that way, if I go back to the United States instead of Taiwan, although I'm working towards going to Taiwan, but maybe I can't get a visa. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they'll let Americans in, but there's this virus thing going on, as you can see. But then traveling around and finding what people do right. I don't want to run around and tell all the bad stories. Everybody will already know those. But specifically find who is thriving, who are the leaders in their areas, and interview them. Put them in front of the camera, just like, and call it, I don't know, camera in your face for as long as you want to talk. Tell the world how you're succeeding, mistakes that you're making, lessons that you're learning, things that can help other people around the country. Like, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? How are you getting a market for your stuff? What are you making? What are you growing? What are you, how are you thriving? How are you doing well when others aren't? So we got to teach everybody and raise everybody else back up. That is where am I going to be of most use? Taiwan or traveling around the United States doing that? What do you think? I mean, that's important. What do supporters think? I mean, if there's a war in Taiwan and China invades and I'm in America, I could be of help in Taiwan if China invades. But if China doesn't invade, I can definitely be more help in the United States. I don't know. What do you think? Let me see what Tammy's saying. I agree. I think it's a good time for you to come back, tell American stories. It might be the best. Susan, Mike, we need you to come home because we need the truth. The mainstream media is not helpful. I noticed that. The mainstream media, good Lord. If I come back, I like the idea of a motorhome, but I want to hear other people's ideas because I've traveled all around America a lot, so I know my country. You know what I mean? You won't believe how much I've traveled around America. I haven't traveled around as much as a truck driver has, but if you're not a truck driver or a traveling salesman, I've probably traveled around more. I mean, because I love to explore. You know how I am, how I explored countries all over the world. Well, I did that to America as well. It's funny. Some people have told me in the past, they're like, before you go explore all these, dozens of countries, why don't you explore America first? And I'm like, hello, I did, and I loved it many times. I went all crisscrossed all over America, from Florida to California and back and forth, and Ohio to California, Massachusetts to California, Massachusetts, Florida, New York to Florida, New York to there, Florida to all over the place, man. I haven't seen Alaska. I'm going to Alaska and one of those states up north. I'm going to see those. I love the United States. It's an incredible country. Um, we're going to have to rebuild it and better than before. And I think probably the best way is like a motorhome. That way I don't have to worry about any hotels or hotel bills. I can go anywhere I want. And certainly not getting on any flights. And plus I need to carry a lot of gear. You know what I mean? It's a lot of gear. You got to, camera gear to put people on and tell their story. You can't just be, I don't want to just drive around in a car like that. You need to have a base camp and a kitchen, and, you need to be, good to go on that sort of stuff. I don't know. Anybody got a motorhome? You got a good motorhome? So if somebody's got a good motorhome, throw it on the table, and and that might be the way to go. Let me try to answer some. I was going to go offline, but I want to see what. Let's see. Kim saying, I agree, Mike, a Carrington event could happen. A Carrington event is a solar event. Like we had one in 18, got a wire in the way. What did we have one in 1856 or something? Or no, 1876? It was after the Civil War, right? Yeah, because they had telegraphs. Telegraphs got blasted. And even telegraphs got blasted. So it's a solar event that causes a real serious issue with our magnetic. Anyway, bottom line is it'll fry a lot. It'll fry a lot of our computers and things like that will be gone. They'll be gone. And could be literally, I think it's been estimated, excuse me, I'm coughing, but it's not COVID. It's because I'm talking for how long now? Hour and a half? Yeah, hour and 40 minutes. I need to start taking calls so somebody else can talk. Listen, but if we get another Carrington event, which we will, and our systems are not hardened, and they're not, that's the end of America. There's something about big events that people don't take seriously. Like this pandemic can do this. And when you say that, people are like, even when it's coming in, even when it's already landed and killing people in America, a huge amount of people are still like, oh, it's just the flu, that sort of thing. Oh, it's just, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. People are just panicking. If they would just stop panicking. And you're like, well, okay. Are they panicking? Is that what's really causing this? How much real panic have you actually seen? I mean, really. I mean, some people fight and get stabbed or whatever, but there's nut cases out there all the time. People get stabbed all the time anyway, and some of it will certainly be increased by this. I don't have any data to back that up, and I'm just going to take a wild guess. But how much real panic have you seen though? Except for some people running out to get toilet paper. Is that really panic? People misuse words too much. They don't use the right words. Panic buying because you're stocking up in advance. That's not panic buying. That's intelligence. Panic buying is what happens when you suddenly you realize that your kids are hungry. Oh, and the electricity just went out and destroyed the rest of the food that you had. Oh, we had enough food for one more week, and the electricity went out, and that food's dead. And so because you didn't have preparation for it. And now comes the panic because the kids are crying, and they're trying to eat cockroaches and that sort of thing. And they will too when they get hungry, because things start looking different when you get hungry, believe me. And so you will, that's when panic can actually happen, but I haven't seen any panic. Maybe some individuals, but some people panic over spiders. You know what I mean? You got panic over snakes or whatever. But there's not been any widespread panic. Let's see. I'm going to try to answer some questions here, but a Carrington event could literally kill the United States, and it would happen more or less silently. Probably it would be, it starts coming 9 minutes later from the sun, bang, and grid starts going down, and that's all she wrote. Even one government study, as I recall, was something like 2/3 of Americans would probably die from a severe something like a Carrington event. And the chances of that happening are significant. The chances of something taking out our grid, Carrington or EMP from North Korea, anybody, a terrorist, or accident, or a virus, or just stupidity. Somebody somehow accidentally takes down our grid. I don't know how they could do it, but Murphy's got the most incredible imagination. So that the United States, we haven't hardened our grid to it. Remember, this is the United States, the really rich country that put people on the moon, that didn't have masks for this pandemic, and now doesn't have a strategic grain reserve. So, and we have not hardened our electrical grid for that. Anyway, so that's something. Teza's saying put those codes up again. You mean the codes for the barcodes for the maybe I got them here for the barcodes for things that are made in China are between, I think, 600 and 650, right? Maybe I got them here. I don't know. But I want to scroll down and see if anybody's got any good ideas about me. I'm still working towards going to Taiwan, but maybe I can't get in with a visa. I don't know. But if we start getting, starvation going or huge meltdown in the United States, obviously I need to be there. And I think a motorhome is probably the way to do it. I've got those codes, but they're somewhere else. Yeah, so if anybody's got a motorhome that they want to come off with, that might be a way to do it, unless you got better ideas. But I think motorhome is a way to do it. You can find those codes online, Teza. Just do a web search for barcodes by country code barcodes. Pat Suker says a Carrington flare would fry off all online electrical circuits unless it was adequately protected. And most all electrical circuits are not. Most everything will be just gone. All communications down. Everything down. Even your electrical cars and other cars probably won't work unless they're old-timey. I don't know. We won't know until it happens, will we? Some more water here. Robert Day said you'd be better off with a delivery van retrofitted. You can move faster. Maybe, but I have to live in it too. I don't want to stay in hotels or depend on something like that. I want to be able to, just somebody lets me even park in their yard. I don't take up any space, and I can just plug the thing in. I want, it needs solar panels on it and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just need to, actually, if anybody does have a nice motorhome, it needs to be something sufficient too, not like wheels falling off of it. It needs to be in really good condition, because you don't want to spend all your time working on the machine rather than out doing work. But if somebody has a motorhome or knows somebody that does, I have a feeling that not a lot of people are going to be using their motorhomes right now. A lot of people might be, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be. I have a feeling that with the economy crashing, a lot of people won't be driving them very much. So if you know anybody that's got a motorhome, please hit me with a private message, but put something in that. Look, I get a huge amount of messages. I can't service them all. I can't even open them all. I apologize for that. So please don't send any chit chat, no chit chat whatsoever. Every message needs to be something, like important that we need to communicate about. But if you know somebody that's got like a motorhome and they're willing to let me just take it across America for indefinite amount of time, and it needs to be something in good condition, that's something that can certainly lean me towards doing that, heavily lean me towards doing it. Rita says, I'm on the road from Oklahoma City to home. I missed the first of this. Have you talked about Kim Jong-un? Only in a minor way, Rita, because I think he's probably dead or at least out of service. That's kind of clear. The effects of that are unknown. Moon in South Korea is obviously a buddy of China, and reunification. Yeah. Gedalia says, Simcha, get some people to proxy for you in America while you yourself go to Taiwan. Yeah, it's a tough question. But if Taiwan gives me a visa, I'll go to Taiwan. But I could have problems anyway. Tammy says, I bet you will have a great opportunity to camp for free all over America. You got free camping and food spot here at my place in Eastern Oregon. Well, at some point, if I do the motorhome thing, I'll be seeing you in Eastern Oregon. That's for sure. Eastern Oregon's nice out there, isn't it? I've been through there quite a few times. I've been all through Oregon. Oregon's such a wonderful state. Rachel says, USA, information is freedom. It is. And where's my head itching? And there's no skeeters around here. Although they call them mon mong, I think, in Thai language. There's a lot of bugs have been around the lights tonight, meaning a lot of rain's coming. But yeah, a motorhome would be that'd be the way to do it. I'll just get myself a crock pot and all kinds of things in there, and I'll get myself or not a crock pot, but one of those anyway, and I'll just have myself a constant hunter's pot on and the bolted back in there, and I'll just drive around America place to place, and before I get there, I'll know who's succeeding and go to them and say, hey, tell your story. What's going on? Maybe I'll stay in some campground for a week and let people come to me or go to them at their farm or something and ask them to show me how they're succeeding or, any mistakes that they're making, and just share that information. Tommy says, you want to do the big motorhome thing too. I think it would work. Yeah, rebuilding needs guidance. It needs it on the strategic level from Washington and state levels as well, and then at town levels. But it also needs it at just our level, because it's the people that built America. It's not the government. The government's the one that let all this get out of control. Well, first of all, it's CCP that let it get out of control and lied about it. And then, many more mistakes happened after that, such as not having masks. But let's see. Hopefully Taiwan will give me I started filling out Gedalia Simcha. Go to Taiwan for now. Get a team trusted proxies to go around America on your behalf. I started filling out the visa today, but I needed more information, so I'm waiting for that information. Hey, Olivia, I'm sure I could probably get parking spaces everywhere. If not, I'll just, go someplace. Kim, want to go to Alaska with us on our boat from Seattle? Yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Tammy says, get a good pickup and a fifth wheel camper. Yeah, that's another idea, another way to do it. Because as you know, then you can, take it off, and then you've got the pickup, independent, which may be the smart way to do it, actually. That might be a smarter way to do it, actually. Yeah, Steve says we are the most motorhome friendly country in the world. Oh, for sure. for sure. As you know, there's a lot of Americans who live in their motorhomes, and there's a lot to learn from them. If I start doing this, I'll be asking them for advice on how to do it the best way. Carrington was 1859, and it really knocked out the telegraphs, actually. Come to USA and go the motorhome route. Route 66 or I-40. We went one way, right? I-10, I-75, all of them, right? And then get off on those side routes. Am I going to get a dog for that trip like Steinbeck? I love dogs, so I would definitely want one. I won't be able to bring my dog. Are Taiwanese people allowed to own guns? Not to my knowledge. Okay. Yeah, but if anybody does have an idea for a really nice motorhome, a big one, something that I could really travel across America with and have my setup and that sort of thing, or a pickup and a big fifth wheel, the trailers, that might be the smarter way to do it. That makes it immediately doable, actually. That makes it just basically getting, a flight back there and starting, because I already know how to do this stuff. Ray Rodriguez says, get a travel trailer and a pickup truck to pull it. And MTR homes and maintenance are motorhome maintenance are a nightmare. Well, in that case, yeah, I don't want to. What you don't want to be doing is spending time on maintenance. Steven says, Go Fast is a nice, cheap, and survival type camper, and goes on a taco for good gas mileage. Susan says, if you can't afford the mobile home, take a survey of supporters that could host you. See who would fit you in their criteria, and if you have to be hosted in homes until you get a mobile home, is that possible? I wouldn't really prefer to do it that way, because I want my also quiet time. And as you know, when you go from place to place, it's always, I'm in a new home, I'm in a new home. They got a dog, they got a door, I can't open it. You know what I mean? It's like you can't, it would be, in my kind of work, I need quiet time as well. A quiet time where I can just, relax and think, as a lot of my work is just thinking and studying quietly. And if you're constantly moving from home to home, that wouldn't be, it'd be fine actually at times. At times it'd be, I like doing that. But but not every night, no way. I need quiet time. Gary says, if you saw the Costco near me, you would say that people were panicking. Make sure to get some video and post it. This is historical too. And so, it might not seem like it at this time, but this is historical. People are going to look back on this. And the more we record it, the more it will be useful later for other people. It might be only useful locally, right? Like, this is the way it was in my town. This is what happened in my town that is very specific to my town. For instance, suddenly everybody was down at the river getting water from the river, that sort of thing can be quite helpful. Make sure to do that. Let's see. Looking. Kim says, you can buy motorhomes cheap right now. You're welcome to stay at our ranch, Mike. Hooking up motorhome if you need. Base comes to. I mean, when I get around there, I'll take you up on it. But what I will do though is certainly travel around. I would say the chances of me, if I can get into Taiwan, I'll go to Taiwan. If it gets to be problematic, I'll go to the U.S. But the U.S. is going to need help, and that help might also be on the front line over in Taiwan if Taiwan gets attacked. Kim saying, No, I'd buy a good used smaller motorhome. You mean not like a pickup and a trailer? Let's see. Uh, well, actually, if you have any ideas on a motorhome or a fifth wheel, like a pickup truck and a trailer, hit me offline, because I can't continue to check these comments over and over because I'll be moving on to other things. But make sure you put something like motorhome, or important in the subject line, because I get so many messages. I just can't service them all. There's no way. I can't even open them all, which is terrible. But it's just there's not enough seconds in the day. Mike says people are loaning their motorhomes and RVs to hospital personnel so they can sleep at hospitals. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And Walmart lets you park in their parking lots free. That's a great thing too. Um, Kim says that is a cool idea, Mike. We can hook up a place on the Big Thompson River. I'm sorry, outside the Estes Park, Colorado. Estes Park. I've been to Estes. That's beautiful. My mother went there when she was a teenager. I think she was 19. Let's see. And I went there to see it just because my mom went there to see it. Thank you, Kim. Kim O'Brien, you're welcome to park at our place in Pennsylvania. I'm keeping my motorhome for a bug out or extra propane. That's a good idea. We also have lots down at the Washington State coast. You're welcome to use if you find a motorhome. There's water and electricity in both places. Let's see if I do this. Let's do it. Lisa says, toy hauler, 100 gallons of fresh water tank, solar panels, lots of room. Are you saying you've got one and I can use it? I'm still on, Jan. You didn't miss my live. Kim says, I'd rather have a motorhome pulling a Jeep. Yeah, I see people doing that in America too. Bartari says, you did not reply to my questions. I didn't see your questions. I might have skipped past them because there was so many and I shot down to the bottom. So just publish it again, please. Sunny says, Sunny Cat 85. My grandparents tow a fifth wheel every summer up north. They loved it. And it's pretty decent size. Okay. Kevin says, Mike, if you get a Florida concealed weapons permit, we'll let you carry it in 32 other states. Probably not Massachusetts, huh? Court Graham says, truck camper makes you more mobile. Park the camper and drive around in the truck at locations. I mean, that's probably the smart way to do it, really. All right. Actually, I am. You're asking, Bartari saying, what about India? Do we need to stock up too? Absolutely. India, if any place. India, if any place at all. Remember, I got my shots, my vaccinations last year to return to India, and then the insurgency kicked off in Hong Kong, so I went there until Hong Kong kicked me out, right? And so I've been to India. I've been there a lot for 10 months anyway, and and I was out there living it. I wasn't staying in 5-star hotels. I was out there among the people in many places, many places in that 10 months. And one thing's for sure, having studied India, I would say your chances of having some famines are extremely high, like over 80% or more. I would just stock up a lot, stock up as much as you can do. Let's see. but definitely stock up. Kim, we have a small cabin on the river. You are welcome to stay there, but it's primitive. No running water except river and outhouse. I'm good to go with stuff like that. Um, yeah, yeah, but definitely stock up in India. Yeah, email me, Tammy. My email is my name, michael.yon@gmail.com. I'll write it down. It's just my name, michael.yon@gmail.com. Everything's subject to change if a shooting war breaks out. You can see I'm fasting, getting into shape for war just in case. Uh, there's my email address. It's just my name. Well, michael.yon@gmail.com. That's it. That is it. And and I get a huge amount of email too. So definitely, if it's important, put important in the subject line. Yeah, China is. Oh, see, here's another problem with food supplies. Uh, as I've said so many times, from channeling from older people and having seen things around the world, you need to be more prepared. When people around you are not prepared, you need to be more prepared. And that happens on the national level too. We have countries now that are starting to hoard or try to buy up as much as they can get of food stocks and everything else. So this is another thing that can lead to, normally you're used to getting so and so food into your country or your place because you import a lot. You know, like Hong Kong imports almost everything. And then suddenly these steady supplies dry up because other countries are buying it at a higher price. So suddenly you don't have food anymore because X country bought your food at a higher price. And then if somebody offers a higher price than them, guess what? They're the ones that's going to get it. The bidding war will take off. And capitalism, believe me, it'll on the international scale, there'll be capitalism. They will absolutely sell it to the highest bidder. If one country wants to pay 3 times more, they'll get it. 4 times more, they'll get it. And so the countries that can't afford it, they'll be bidded out, and they won't have food. That's the way it'll really go, especially as the base production diminishes, right? Whether it's maybe fewer fishing boats out there or maybe more, I don't know. Uh, uh, all sorts of things can happen. We can have global droughts. There's a locust problem now. As you know, look up locusts, you'll see where these things are. There's all kinds of things going on now. And stock up, I'm telling you. Moment I step foot in the United States or Taiwan, first thing I'm going to do is stock up. It'll be the very first thing I do. Reading questions here. What's the best way to contact me? Just use my email, Gladys. Thank you, and please, that's my email, and just put important in the email, in the heading, because I get loads of emails, and just I get so much communication. It's hard to sift through it, and a lot of important. You're welcome, Bharati in India, and I hope to get back to India when this is all over. We're gonna have some tough days ahead, and I really want to get back and see y'all in India. I really want to see you guys, all more than a billion of you. You know I'm joking. Indians got the same sense of humor that Americans got, so you know. Sam Edwards, tons of YouTube videos on experienced travelers with advice. The pitfalls of motorhomes and fifth wheels are everywhere. Yeah, you know what? That's what I need to do. Janice saying, how much weight have I lost? Net weight, this is my 19th day. Net weight, meaning actual fat, maybe 19 pounds, maybe a pound a day, roughly. Maybe not quite that much. Certainly more than 15 net. But then gross, meaning water weight and that sort of thing, it'll be some more. But as soon as you stop fasting, you'll start putting on some of that gross back on. But the net weight, the actual fat loss, roughly a pound a day for a man my size. Barbara says, where'd your comment go? I just looked up the number of virus cases in California. San Francisco's cases haven't increased since March 27th. Still 1,400. You're welcome, Sharon. Hey, Barbara. Barbara, make sure to please put one sentence of intro or even a few words when you put links up. That way people can know if they want to click through. Thanks for putting the links up. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and any questions that I missed, I'm sorry, because there looks like there's hundreds here. And I'll come back on tomorrow. And yeah, if anybody has an idea on motorhomes and that sort of thing, or fifth wheelers or whatever, please do send an email to my email address. In which case, I'll be seeing a lot of people all over America. You'll know when I come to your state. That's my email address. And make sure to put something like important in the subject. So I'm going to go ahead and it's 3:34 in the morning here in Thailand. I'm going to shut off now. Mic out.